I used to think invisibility was a curse until I realized it was power. At work, I was the ghost in the system. No praise, no promotions, not even eye contact. I held the company together, line by line of code, crisis after crisis. Then one morning, my name vanished from payroll, just like that. No warning, just silence. They erased me, hoping I'd vanish quietly. But they forgot one thing. When the ghost leaves, the house falls. Now, I'm not here to scream. I'm here to watch everything burn, quietly. The red blinking letters screamed across my screen. System critical. Backup server down. It was 3:12 a.m. I sat up in bed, wiped the sleep from my eyes, and reached for the laptop without even thinking. This wasn't the first time. Probably wouldn't be the last. Within minutes, I was logged in remotely, rerouting firewalls, stabilizing the load balancer, patching what someone else forgot. I didn't even hesitate anymore. I'd done this half asleep, sick. Even once during my daughter's birthday. No applause, no thank you, just silence. By 3:48 a.m., everything was back online, not a single byte lost. I texted Darren, my boss, just out of protocol. System restored. No data breach. Issue resolved. He replied 3 minutes later. Who are you again? I stared at the message. That morning, I walked into the office after only 3 hours of sleep. No one looked up. A new intern took my usual seat in the team huddle. I stood in the back. No one noticed. By 9 p.m., I was still there, staring at SQL logs trying to debug a phantom error that no one else could replicate. I glanced at the family photo taped to my monitor. My wife, Ella, and our daughter, June. When I finally got home, the house was dark. Ella sat in the kitchen with a half-empty glass of wine. She didn't say anything as I slipped off my shoes. She waited for you, she said softly, then cried herself to sleep. Again. I nodded, guilt tightening around my chest. Ella stared at me for a long second, then asked, "If you disappeared tomorrow, would anyone at that place even notice?" I didn't answer. Back in college, I was the guy everyone recruited first. The kid who built his own firewall in high school, who turned down Google to work at a nonprofit. I had dreams, ethics, integrity, and then life happened. Mortgages, diapers, Ella's medical bills. I turned down a CTO offer once. Too much travel, I said. I wanted to be present, but being present in a job that didn't see me wasn't exactly winning either. The next morning, I was given a feature update with a 72-hour turnaround. Impossible unless someone gave up eating or sleeping. I asked for support. Darren said, "Get the intern to shadow you. You're good at grunt work." At the next team meeting, he praised a junior dev for solving a network loop issue. My code, my fix. I'd documented the whole thing, even left a Slack message timestamped 3 days earlier. No one said a word. Later that day, I noticed I wasn't on the project-wide email chain anymore. I tried to add myself back. Access denied. I walked to HR. "Hey, weird thing," I said. "I'm not getting project emails. Can someone check if—" The HR associate smiled too tightly. "Oh, that might be a system hiccup. I'll look into it." She didn't write anything down. Back at my desk, a creeping unease slithered into my gut. I logged into our internal timesheet system just to check. Name, not found. I blinked, refreshed the browser. Same result. I checked again, switching to the raw database layer. Still gone, as if I'd never existed in payroll. That night, I called my mother just to hear a familiar voice. She asked, "Do people at your job know you still work there?" I forced a laugh. I hope so, she sighed. I worry about you, Nathan. You used to love what you did. You used to smile when you talked about work. I stared at the floor. I don't even know what I do anymore. As I hung up, a Slack notification popped up on my personal phone. It was from a colleague I hadn't spoken to in weeks. Careful. You're not the first. You won't be the last. I froze. Then I replied, "What do you mean?" No answer. Only silence. I couldn't sleep. That message, "You're not the first," replayed in my mind like a glitch I couldn't debug. By morning, I was back in the system, sifting through layers of access logs and admin panels, not for work, but for myself. My name wasn't in the active employee list, not even in inactive, but buried inside the infrastructure permissions database, I found it. Just one reference. Nathan Cole, contractor, off-site. Contractor. I'd been full-time for 8 years, never missed a deadline, never left during a crisis, never changed my email address. Yet here I was, repackaged as an external ghost in my own digital home. I clicked deeper into the metadata. A line of code blinked once, then vanished. A deletion command. Someone was cleaning up after themselves, sloppy but deliberate. I took a screenshot and encrypted it, just in case. Later that day, I was standing by the coffee machine when a new intern, small frame, nervous eyes, accidentally bumped into me. She dropped a stack of folders. As I helped her pick them up, she whispered without looking at me, "You were removed from the payroll manually 2 weeks ago." I froze. She stood, looked around, and added under her breath, "Same thing happened to me. They said it was a system bug. I lost access for 2 months." Before I could respond, she was gone, blending back into the fluorescent maze of cubicles. That night, Ella stopped me before I could collapse onto the couch. "Why do you go back there every day like you're trying to prove you exist?" she asked. Her voice wasn't angry, just tired. I wanted to say something clever, something brave, but I had nothing, because she was right. The next morning, I started recording everything. I downloaded a voice recorder app and slipped my phone into my shirt pocket before the 10 a.m. team meeting. Darren stood at the front of the room, animated and full of fake charisma. "I want to give a shout out to Jacob for resolving the latency issue last week," he said, smiling at the junior developer. "That fix saved us." My fingers curled into a fist under the table. It was my fix, my patch. I'd stayed up 2 nights, ran simulations, tested rollback protocols. I'd even commented the changes in Git under my own commit. Darren knew. He just didn't care. Later, I spliced the audio with my commit log. It was clear, undeniable. But I wasn't sure what to do with it. Expose him now, and I'd be out. Jobless, branded difficult, blacklisted. Keep digging, and maybe I'd find something deeper, something worth risking everything for. I chose to wait. That evening, I returned to the access logs, searching for any trace of how I became a contractor. That's when I found it, a PDF embedded in a private shared drive, encrypted, labeled Vendor Contract, Archon Group. I decrypted it. There it was, signature, Nathan Cole. But it wasn't mine. It was forged, used to authorize a service contract worth $800,000 with an outsourcing company I'd never heard of. And that was the moment I stopped feeling afraid. I began copying files, exporting metadata, creating backups across multiple cloud services. I knew they could revoke my access any moment. So I built something special, a backdoor. Not to harm, but to protect. If they tampered with my user profile again, It would trigger a silent alert and auto-encrypt every log they'd tried to bury. One night, as I reviewed the file structure again, a message appeared on my encrypted drive. "Are you ready to make this bigger than just you?" It was from the intern. Except now she introduced herself. Maya Tran, Research Assistant, Digital Ethics Collective, a whistleblower network, underground, quiet, but watching. They'd been tracking corporate abuse of invisible workers. Nathan Cole was just one of many. Dozens had been scrubbed out of systems, denied severance, ghosted while the company pocketed millions in efficiency bonuses. Maya sent me a list. I recognized 4 names. All former colleagues I thought had simply moved on. Each one removed the same way I was being removed now. My stomach twisted. This wasn't personal. It was procedural. I texted Ella, taking June for a walk. Back soon. We walked to the old park near the elementary school. It was quiet, almost too peaceful. June held my hand. "Why do you always look like you're thinking about stuff that's far away?" I knelt to her level. Because sometimes what's far away needs fixing before it breaks everything close. She blinked at me, then smiled. "That's weird." I laughed for the first time in days. Back home, I sat down and drafted my resignation letter. No anger, no drama, just 3 lines. "I resign, effective immediately. Thank you for the opportunity." I attached a small .txt file named Reference Notes. Inside was a single line of code, triggering the back door I'd built, not to destroy, just to reveal. If they touched my file again, the truth would start dripping, one corrupted log at a time. Then I hit send, and I waited. On Monday morning, the company woke up to chaos. Servers stalled. Internal dashboards froze. Financial reports rendered in gibberish. A few back-end applications wouldn't even load. The tech team scrambled, rebooted, retraced, but nothing worked. Nothing made sense. Nathan Cole was gone, and with him, the silent architecture he'd kept alive. In the war room, Darren stood red-faced, shouting into conference calls. "What do you mean we can't access the payroll API? Why wasn't this flagged in the last push?" The dev lead, newly promoted, nervously flipping through documentation, muttered, "Nathan handled this entire branch. No one else had access." "Well, where's his documentation?" Darren snapped. "Clean. Too clean," someone whispered. While the building buzzed with panic, a quiet ripple began spreading on Slack. A private chat log was leaked. Screenshots, timestamps, usernames. In it, Darren messaged HR 6 weeks prior. Remove Cole from bonus eligibility. Reclassify as contractor. Flag for offsite billing. Delete audit trail. The log went viral internally in under 10 minutes. It reached the CEO by noon. By 1:15 p.m., Darren was summoned. By 1:45 p.m., an emergency audit was ordered across all departments. The CEO, a stoic man rarely seen outside the C-suite, stood in front of a crowd of pale-faced managers and said only 5 words. "I want everything exposed now." Somewhere across town, Nathan stood outside June's school gates, holding a small pink umbrella. She ran out with her backpack bouncing and hugged his leg tight. "You came," she whispered. He smiled. "I'm early." They went for ice cream, just the 2 of them. No screens, no emails, no code. They sat on a bench near the playground. June licked her cone, swung her legs, and hummed quietly. Nathan didn't say much. He didn't have to. The world was loud enough already. By the time they got home, a new email had landed in every employee inbox. No sender, No reply address. Subject: The Invisible Man Speaks. Inside the email were embedded files, logs, access records, timestamps, screenshots of code commits rerouted under others' names, KPI reports showing altered metrics, a PDF labeled Vendor Diversion Archon Group. Nathan's forged signature circled in red. There was no narration, no accusations, just raw data. Let the truth speak for itself. Panic spread faster than the initial outage. Darren burst into the floor, denying everything. "This is a setup," he barked. "Someone's framing me." He pointed at Maya, the intern. "You were close to Cole. This is your mess." But Maya didn't flinch. She pulled out her phone and played an audio clip aloud. Darren's voice: "Make sure that payroll line is gone. No trace. If he asks, say it was HR. He won't fight back. He never does." The room fell silent. "Still think I'm the intern?" Maya asked. A VP stepped forward, one of the old ones. Quiet, sharp. "I've had concerns about you for years, Darren," he said. "Now I know they were right." By the end of the day, Darren's access was revoked, his badge deactivated. The CEO called Nathan personally, not an assistant, not HR. "Come back," he said. "Lead the rebuild. You'll have full control, 5 times the salary, and a blank check." Nathan listened, then answered with one sentence. "I didn't leave because of money." The line went quiet. And then, just before hanging up, Nathan added, "But I'm glad you finally called." The next morning, employees walked into a building buzzing with rumors and questions. Some looked over their shoulders. Others deleted old messages. In the break room, someone asked, "Is he coming back?" No one answered. Later that afternoon, an update went out. Darren Whitaker, placed on indefinite suspension pending investigation. But when escorted out, Darren turned to the security guard and whispered with a bitter grin, "I'm not going down alone." And just like that, the mask didn't fall. It shattered. By Thursday morning, it wasn't just the company talking. The world had joined in. An investigative journalist picked up the anonymous leak and ran with it. The story hit Reddit, Medium, then TechCrunch. The headline: "The Ghost Engineer: How One Man Held a Corporation Together Until They Tried to Erase Him." Within hours, it exploded. Comment sections flooded with confessions, recognition, rage. "He fixed our inventory database in 2019. I thought he left voluntarily. I was in HR. We were told to list him as external for legal reasons. I regret it every day." By noon, the company's board held an emergency press conference. The head of HR, visibly shaken, confirmed the existence of 12 ghost employee cases over the past 6 years. Each incident involved reclassification without notice, revocation of access, deletion from internal records, without termination paperwork. No severance, no legal closure, just deletion. Then came the twist no one expected. One of the 12, Aaron Lindell, had taken his own life 3 years earlier, weeks after being quietly removed from his engineering role. His family had pushed for answers, but the company cited contract conclusion. The email trail released in Nathan's leak showed otherwise. Aaron had never been a contractor. He was scrubbed, the company had known, and they had buried it. Nathan sat in his kitchen, watching the news unfold. His phone buzzed nonstop, vibrating with interview requests, podcasts, legal inquiries. He didn't answer any of them. Then his old colleague, Michelle, knocked on his door. She looked tired, older than he remembered. Her voice trembled. "I knew," she said, eyes down. "Not everything, but enough." I saw your name pulled from the access list. I told myself it was above my pay grade. Nathan didn't speak. He didn't need to. I'm sorry, she whispered. I wasn't brave enough. He nodded once. Later that night, Nathan visited his mother. She was in the living room, knitting something colorful and uneven. On the TV, a reporter stood outside the company headquarters, holding a tablet showing Nathan's employee photo. His mother smiled. I told the neighbors you were always the smart one. Nathan chuckled, sitting beside her. They believe me now, she added softly. They watched in silence. The next morning, a package arrived at Nathan's doorstep. Inside was a file drive. No return address. The label read, Project Alchemy. He plugged it in carefully, air-gapped his system, and opened the file. Inside were data logs, internal memos, quarterly strategies, all referencing a single platform. A hidden productivity scoring algorithm embedded across hundreds of corporations. It scraped email frequencies, code commits, Slack messages, meeting attendance, aggregated it all into a value score. High scores meant promotions. Low scores meant silent termination. The system was called Echo Rank, and it was owned by a conglomerate called Helix Partners, a private equity firm known for investing in distressed tech companies, including Nathan's former employer. Darren had only been a middleman. The real architect sat above him, quiet, distant, untouchable. Nathan called Maya. Did you send this? He asked. No, she said, but someone wants you to see it. She paused, then added, My father was Aaron Lindell's friend. They started at the same time. Nathan's breath caught. Wait, you're Amelia Tran, she said, her voice steady. I use Maya for protection. My dad was removed the same way as Aaron. He drank himself into a hospital. Never coded again. Nathan leaned back. You knew all along. She didn't reply. Instead, she sent another file. A map. Lines connecting companies, board members, and one red dot. His former CEO. Helix is everywhere, she said, but the exposure starts here. Nathan took it all in. The weight of it, the scale, the sheer number of names. Later that evening, the new interim CEO reached out. Polite, humble, a complete contrast to the last regime. We need a reset, she said. We want you to return, as a symbol, help rebuild transparency, define ethics for the future. Nathan looked at the email, reread it, then turned off his monitor. He stepped outside. The air was cool, quiet. He walked past neighbors who now waved without hesitation, past the diner where baristas suddenly knew his name. He sat at the park bench, where June had dropped her ice cream days earlier. Spotlight or shadow? Be the public face of change, or remain the force behind the curtain? He thought of Aaron, of Michelle's face, of Amelia, of the nameless 12, of the hundreds, maybe thousands, this algorithm would erase. Then he opened his laptop and began coding something new. Ghost Network, a secure alliance for anyone ever erased, silenced, manipulated. No profiles, no hierarchy, just truth. Its first tagline, You are not invisible. Not anymore. Nathan stood at the edge of the small stage inside a university auditorium. He wasn't there to speak. He'd already declined the offer. But they still asked if they could read something he wrote. He agreed. On the screen behind the podium, white text appeared against black. If you build systems, build values too. Don't just engineer logic, engineer ethics. It was signed simply, NC. A quiet ripple of applause followed, small but genuine. A few heads nodded, a few students jotted it down. A few executives in the back room looked uncomfortable. Later that week, the first wave of headlines hit. Backdoor saved millions. Ex-CTO admits Nathan Cole's code-prevented financial meltdown. The former CTO of a well-known fintech startup revealed in an exclusive interview that during a critical data failure 2 years prior, he had secretly used one of Nathan's open-sourced emergency protocols, a script Nathan had shared anonymously on GitHub after his departure. "It saved our company," the man admitted. "I didn't credit him then. I regret that." What followed next was a slow, rolling thunder. Dozens of tech companies, fearing exposure, began launching internal audits. Compliance teams surfaced cases where employees were reclassified, bonuses diverted, names erased. What had been an isolated ghost story was now an epidemic of silent manipulation. Helix Partners, the investment conglomerate at the heart of EchoRank, issued a carefully worded statement. No acknowledgement, no apology, just a temporary pause in productivity automation partnerships. But something else stirred beneath the surface. Nathan received a call from an old contact in the legal world. A quiet, calculated voice. "There's a class action firm preparing to sue Darren Whitaker," he said. "Whistleblower laws, forgery, fraud. You may be called to testify." Nathan hung up slowly, feeling the weight of a journey coming full circle. He didn't celebrate. He didn't post. Instead, he closed his laptop and walked to the backyard, where June was building a tent out of blankets. "Want to camp with me?" she asked, waving a flashlight. Nathan smiled. "Of course." They lay side by side, the fabric rustling overhead in the wind. She held the flashlight to the ceiling like it was a star projector. "Daddy?" "Yeah?" "Do you think there are good people in the world?" He hesitated, then answered softly, "I think there are people who try, and that matters more." She turned off the flashlight and curled up beside him. 2 days later, Darren was arrested on charges of financial fraud, forgery, and obstruction. The footage of him being escorted out in handcuffs played across business news channels nationwide. It was the beginning. More arrests followed. A VP in accounting, a data analyst from a Helix-linked firm, a former HR lead with ties to multiple ghost terminations. The industry reeled. Some demanded Nathan speak. Tech summits, panels, think pieces, op-eds. He refused them all. Instead, he sent Maya, Amelia, to accept an award from the Digital Ethics Board. She stood on the stage in a black blazer too large for her, reading from a paper in trembling hands. "This isn't about one man," she said. "This is about all of us, about being seen, about systems that don't just remember your productivity, but your humanity." In the audience, Nathan watched from the last row, unnoticed. He didn't need his name in lights. After the event, he walked home under flickering street lamps, past headlines pasted on bus stops, his photo cropped beside words like justice, ghost engineer, the fixer who fought back. He paused at one. Someone had scrawled under it in Sharpie, "Real heroes don't have titles." Nathan smiled. The next morning, his inbox had a new message. No subject, just a signature at the bottom. CEO, Synex Technologies, a company known for its brutal layoffs and algorithmic workforce reduction. The message was brief. "We were wrong. We need someone to build it right this time. Will you help us?" He didn't reply immediately. He stared at the message. And then, quietly, he began drafting something else. Not a resume. A new framework. A blueprint. For what a company could be, if built not on profit, but on people. Nathan's days were simple now. He no longer wore a badge or carried a company laptop. He didn't attend Monday stand-ups or monitor error logs in the middle of the night. Instead, he woke early, made coffee, and walked June to school. No one recognized him on the sidewalks anymore. That was how he liked it. But invisibility, he'd learned, wasn't the same as being forgotten. He had quietly joined an advisory circle, mentoring young tech leads, developers on the edge of burnout, product heads questioning the moral lines of their decisions, data scientists wondering if what they were building helped or harmed. Nathan never told them what to do. He just asked questions, gave stories, offered the kind of presence he never had. One evening, he received a podcast invitation from a small ethics-based tech forum. "We know you don't do public appearances," the message read, "but maybe your voice can help others speak." He didn't say yes. He sent them a voice clip instead. "You can be invisible," he said slowly, clearly, "but you're never meaningless. The systems need you more than you need them. Don't let silence convince you otherwise." It aired the next week. Downloads passed 1 million by Friday. Messages poured in. "You told my story. I thought I was the only one. You reminded me why I started coding." The world had moved on from the headlines. New scandals replaced old ones. But inside the right corners of the industry, Nathan's ghost still lingered. At a workshop for young engineers, someone introduced him with a smile. "This is Nate. He helps us not lose ourselves while we build cool stuff." He chuckled. "That's a nicer version than old guy who nags about ethics." At the coffee station during the break, a man approached him. He looked vaguely familiar. Hair shorter, posture humbler. "Nathan Cole?" the man asked. Nathan turned. It was Jacob, Darren's former protege, the same junior dev who once took credit for Nathan's fix. "I volunteer now," Jacob said. "At your foundation. Data cleanup mostly. Maya let me in." Nathan raised an eyebrow. Jacob nodded. "I didn't know what I was a part of back then. I didn't ask questions. I should have. I'm not asking you to forgive me. Just thanks for letting me be useful again." Nathan didn't reply with words, just a quiet hand on Jacob's shoulder. The next month, whispers spread of a new infrastructure framework quietly being adopted across mid-sized tech companies. Built on transparency, user consent, audit trails by default, no productivity scores, no silent terminations. They called it Signal, a modular system designed by a pseudonymous group. Its first module was signed NC. By spring, 22 companies had deployed it. By summer, one of the top 3 cloud providers added Signal as an integration partner. Nathan never made a statement. He just watched the ripples from afar. Then came June's graduation. She stood in her little dress, paper cap slightly crooked, clutching the speech they let her write herself. Nathan sat in the back of the multi-purpose room, next to Ella, whose eyes sparkled with pride. When it was June's turn, she stepped to the mic, her voice steady and small. "My dad isn't famous. He doesn't have trophies or a blue check or go on TV. But one time, my friend said her dad works for a big company that got saved from crashing. And I said, that was my dad who helped. And she didn't believe me, because no one ever talks about my dad." She looked around the room. "But I think that's okay, because the best people don't ask to be seen. They just make sure everything stays standing." She smiled. "My dad is the kind of person nobody remembers, but nobody can live without." The room went quiet. Then came the applause. Nathan didn't cry, not until later. That night, he sat alone in his home office, the light dim, the hum of the old computer soothing. His inbox chimed. New message. No subject. No name. Just a line. Help us expose them. He stared at it for a long while, then smiled.